Anyway, Louis, my man, my dude, let's talk about some things that, again, I've spoken about in the past, just for a different game. This is the thumbnail for today. This is the thumbnail a year ago. Right, it says faction secondaries should be banned in 40k, and today's title is AOS is having the same problems as 40k.
What was the general consensus a year ago? It was bad.
No one agreed with me, and then I made a follow-up video saying I was right. The consensus is that 40k came out with secondaries in the game, where you play a primary mission and you choose 3 secondaries per game. And all the secondaries are in the rulebook or in the chapter approved, which is the mission pack. And then they started releasing codexes, and the codexes had unique secondaries for that faction in particular that they could choose from. And then the one problem with that was Space Marines end up having 6 to choose from rather than just 3. But overall, the faction secondaries were far easier to do because they were flavored for your army, which makes sense because it's a faction secondary. So they start getting flavored into basically like, oh, well, you're a spaceman, you love shooting, here's one that's good at shooting. Deathwatch got one where it's kill aliens to get points, and it's like, well, that's their whole thing. And everyone's playing aliens right now.
The very similar things been happening slowly through AOS, but
yeah,
I guess the catalyst of it, of why it's come to the forefront, because a lot of these books have been out for a while, but I think the reason why it's come to the forefront is because the new battle tactics in the General's Handbook in the new season aren't at first glance as easily achievable. So people are thinking, putting more value on the battle tactics in the battle terms now, because they are now more achievable than put a monster on a point, kill a battle line. You know, without a doubt, the battle tactics in the last General's Handbook were far easier to do.
I think
I
now
gave a lot more bonus points as well.
Yeah, because pretty much it was like, because it was a season of monsters, if you had a monster, you got extra points for doing something. But now it feels a bit more, rather than quite generic, I'd say, like grab a point, be in your opponent's territory. They're a little bit more flavored towards what they're trying to push in the playstyle, having like infantry on the board and stuff. There's a lot of Galician benefits, you know, for like doing stuff like do this with a Galician unit, do this against a Galician unit, for example. So as you say, yeah, people are relying a little bit more on the battle tactics, which we'll call them tome tactics. I think that'll be easier than battle tome.
TTs.
The TTs, yeah. So a lot more people are relying on the tome tactics rather than the General's Handbook battle tactics, and it's starting to raise some questions. Especially, there's a lot of talk about Daughters of Cain, and a lot of people are starting to think about banning them. Which, you know,
there's
once upon a time, listen, a Hellstorm raising on Twitter. As I say, look, faction secondaries should be banned in 40k. If the video's right itself, Louis, it's all happened before. Some of the older ones were alright. Stormcast, alright. Orc Warclans, alright, you know. When you're playing against an army that doesn't have any, you can start to see like the real disparity. But what we're now starting to see is disparity between people who have tome tactics and people who have tome tactics bar newer, such as Daughters of Cain.
The Daughters of Cain one, the new ones, and they are proving the issue, because I think they're the first new ones that have bonus points on them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what people are up in arms about, I think, because they're quite easy and you get extra points.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you have a battle tactic in your battle term that just scores you 2 points, it kind of, because most people are scoring battle tactics every turn anyway, you're basically fighting over primaries, you know, the primary mission. When you're scoring battle tactics that are just scoring you 2 points, you're almost maintaining the status quo in terms of like the scoring. You're like fighting. You're trying to score more points than each other, but you're not like climbing. You're just like catching up, you know. 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, and then you had the GHB ones, the General Handbook ones, which sometimes had bonus ones if you do with the monster. So everyone was bringing monster lists. But yeah, as you mentioned, the Daughters of Cain, the first one that got getting bonus points for doing it. So now they're not keeping status quo; they're catching up and jumping one ahead just with battle tactics, which I think is a problem. No, I can see two. I can see 2. Yeah, let's have a look. So shout out to this wonderful website because it's so much easier to pull up on screen. We got Clash of Arms. You complete tactic with 3 or more friendly units make a charge move this turn. If 2 or more are Witch Elves or Sisters of Slaughter, you score an additional victory point, which is very easy. It's just make 3 charges.
Yeah, here's a bonus point if you do it with specific things.
Yeah, which you have anyway. They're your like battle line units.
Yeah, they'll probably be your battle lines.
And then the other one that's getting bonus points is Tide of Blades. You complete this tactic with 2 or more units when you start your army wholly within your opponent's territory at the end of this turn. At the end of the turn as well, not even like the end of the battle round or anything. If 2 or more of those units are Witch Elves, score 1 additional victory point. Again, Witch Elves.
Imagine that double turn, right? You have your 3 units of Witch Elves charge someone on the line of the territory.
Yep, 3 points.
You get the next turn, and then you just move further into their territory, and you're
6
like...
points. 6 point swing.
This guy's not even held up, like, he's held 1 less point than me. He's still drawing with me. He's only, like, what?
All he's done is charges in the middle of the board and move a bit, and he's beating me.
Yeah, we're drawing, and his Witch Elves are in the fucking corner. Like, what?
Yeah, exactly. So, and obviously both of them, if 2 or more are Witch Elf. So now knowing that, because 2 of them that get bonus points are just around one type of unit, you can like plan your lists around that.
They're all like that. The Canary one as well. Well, there's 2 different types of Canary, but why not flash 2 units of them in? I think Fire and Flight is like shoot and then move.
After the unit shoots, you can make a null move of 6 inch.
Yeah. So like they deep strike as well.
Yeah.
So you just have 2 units that deep strike in, shoot, and then move, and you've got.
And then you get a battle tactic.
That's free if you build your list to have 2 of them in.
Yeah, so you need 2 units of Witch Elves, 2 units of Canary, and you can get 8 points, which is very easy to do, you know? So now your opponent has got to kind of like know that you've got those battle tactics available and target units accordingly to deny you those points. Deny you bonus points because you don't even need to have those points. For these 2, you don't need to have them, but if you do, you get bonus, you know?
Yeah. The problem is with the Canary one especially, right? You can build a list that has that has 1 drop or has a load, but they always want to make you go first. Drop your Canary in the first turn, drop them onto 2 points that no one else is on, and sacrifice. How much was a unit of Canary? Like 100 points?
95 points for 5.
Yeah, so 180 points to basically throw 2 shooting units onto points for hold 1, hold 2, hold more.
Mm-hmm.
Then do your battle tactic, and all you've sacrificed and put anywhere near harm's way is
10.
Less than 200 points.
Yeah, and all that's going to do is bring your opponent closer. All it's going to do is bring your opponent closer so you can counter charge, which then will get you Clash of Arms for 3 units of charge. It just writes itself.
Yeah, it does.
You know? So they're like the most obnoxious ones that we've seen so far. There's lots in pretty much every book. I know you've gone through a couple, Louis.
The point of them is that some of them should be doable.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of them, 2 or 3, or like 1 or 2 in every book, are like, yeah, I could do that in a game, which is how it should be. But it's not so bad when they don't give extra points.
Yeah, I think the problem is with doors. It's that you get the extra point. Like, as I said, it's like you're not withholding the status quo scoring a battle tactic. Then you're then gaining on them because you've got some battle tactics which are quite easy to achieve and quite easy to get that bonus as well, which I think is a problem.
At the moment, the discussion is just no one is saying, oh, just, you know, everyone is saying ban faction-specific battle tactics, when a more realistic approach might be ban extra points for them. And then you're not punishing everyone for having a little bit of extra flavour. Yeah,
so that is kind of like, that's the conversation into it, is whether we should ban them, whether we should control them, or whether we should like play it out. From my experience in 40k, people just let it play out. They just accepted that new books were going to beat them anyway. And I think in a lot of cases, that new books are far superior to like older books, right?
Codex creep, right?
Yeah, it's battle tone creep, it's codex creep. It's part of the game. We hate it. Games Workshop don't mind it because they make money from it. So I think a lot of people in 40k just sucked it up and just said, well, they are better, yeah. But they are the rules, you know. That is how it is.
We don't have that much comp in AOS, like at all, to be fair. So the fact that most of Twitter's up in arms about essentially comping just a large portion of the game, like parts of people's rules that are written, that people must feel strongly enough about it to basically go, oh, that bit of the rules, fuck them. Like, if they start on this, where's the line, Mikey?
That's
where's
the
they
question.
Look at the charge phase and they're like, you know what? Don't like charging. Everyone charge 12.
Yeah.
If enough people comp it, That's how it'll be.
Yeah, exactly. And the problem is like I've tried to comp things in the past. I've had comped events. I wrote my own balance data slate and got hated for it because people said it was dumb.
That was a bold move.
It was a great move, and I'm not bold. But it was great. It was a great idea. But people in 40k are generally like against like community balancing, and a lot of the time they're kind of right as well. It's like who is one person to say that you can't use a rule just because you don't like it? It does start. There's a lot of bias in it, which there's probably a lot of bias in Games Workshop rules writing as well. But at least they make the game. So at least it's biased. That's just how it is because they make it, you know?
Yeah, in G-Dub's defense, especially with AOS, I think they've been doing a pretty good job at balancing the game on the fly now. A lot better than they used to do.
Yeah.
So if this isn't fitting with their design, maybe in the next battle scroll update, they'll address it.
Games Workshop are quite open to like changing stuff or completely rewriting how the game functions to make things work better. And the problem is when you start comping stuff is you don't see the problem because you're taking the, well, if it is a problem, it might not be a problem. You don't really know, especially because like Daughters have been out like what 2 months. They don't have a super high win rate, have we seen? They've got like a 50% win rate, which is a bit above average, but you know it's not crazy. I'm sure like they're probably winning more games than they should because of these battle tactics, but they're not like they're scoring a few points. They're not like dominating games, and I mean they might be. We can't analyze every single game, but they're probably winning a few more than they should. But if you take these out, they're probably going to win nearly as many games, but other factions will suffer as well.
I think in 2 weeks' time, if we look at the top fives and it's just dominated by Daughters of Cain,
then you can say,
then maybe we're like, yeah.
I think the problem is a lot of people kind of jump and you know say the sky is falling. Yeah. Like I said, like again, I link it back to when I released the balance data like that I did myself, and a lot of people didn't like it. But the problem armies had been dominating the top for like 3.5-4 months, and it was kind of like, well, what are you gonna do about it? You know, Games Workshop were due to release a balance data slate, and then released it a month early because they hadn't done enough. They basically done that thing where they release an update, and then they release a new codex like a week later. So the new codex was really good. They hadn't done enough. And then to the other codexes, and they were all dominating. So that was like 2.5 months of seeing like, what do you want me to say about competitive Warhammer? Because it's the same armies on the top as it was for the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, looking at the stats going, oh, what a fucking surprise.
Yeah.
Golden Boys are doing great again.
Exactly, yeah. And I got to the point where I was like, I'm not even going to bother looking anymore because I can't be bothered. Now, the real problem is it's Seraphon, according to our data. Seraphon are the problem.
Yeah. You nerf all these things. Maybe the battle tactics are in to help the other battle tomes compete against Seraphon.
Yeah, but the thing is like Daughters of Cain haven't had a top 5 ever this month.
They haven't. They've been a mid-tierish army for ages. To be fair.
Exactly. So they've been like they're quite mid tier. So yes, they've got some good battle tactics, but maybe that's carrying them to mid tier because they had a lot of stuff nerfed. So I think a lot of it is sky falling. I think if we analyze the data for a couple of months and people figure out how to play Daughters of Cain really well, and then they have really good battle tactics on top, then there's an issue.
Well, yeah, I think all these arguments are invalid until we have a month or so of data. Good couple of events, because so much has changed that with literally everyone's just wildly speculating at the moment.
Wild West, mate. Wild West.
I love the Wild West, but it makes everyone fucking mental. Like they just start jumping and just bloody shooting at people. And
sand gets everywhere. Rushing. It's coarse.
Yeah. Anakin, he's a sexy boy.
Anyway, Daughters of Cain shouldn't get bonus points. If you want to fix it, that's what I'd suggest. Just so you don't get a bonus point. You just get 2 points. And that keeps the status quo then in the game.
I would personally, for the purity of everyone's stats, let the game play as the game is played for a month or 2.
Are you agreeing with me? We're supposed to argue.
No. You're saying take the bonus points off.
No, I'm saying let it play, but if you're going to do anything, take the bonus point. You've got to say ban him. Say ban him.
No. No battle tactics from any sources.
Yeah, you must make up your battle tactic every
None of
game.
them.
They're all
We're going back to
unique.
AOS 1. We're going back to AOS 1. We're just playing objectives.
Just grab to the point. Whoever holds the most objectives at the end of the game wins.
Yeah.